I've been looking forward to doing a video for this because I know this one dish angers quite a few people. They get passionate about it. So up next, we're going to take a look at how I make stuffed cabbage rolls for my family. Now, mind you, the word authentic is not in my title. So a few thoughts beforehand. Keep in mind there are over 50 countries that have their own version. And like my mom used to make is often a common statement. Many countries make their own national version and then there are derivatives from it. So even if you found an authentic recipe for one country, there's always someone who's going to complain it's not authentic if you added or you didn't add or you didn't use. So it's okay. I come in peace. So I'm going to give you something here that I enjoy very much. And I'm not using the word authentic at all, ever. My version's nothing more than simply how I enjoy making it. And it's using simple ingredients, easy to find, even for tight budgets. You can make a lot of food with this. It's a good recipe, just like all the other cabbage rolls that are out there in the world. It's awesome stuff, folks. Let's face it. It's just good, simple food. So as always, ingredients, you can keep it simple. We got cabbage, we got ground beef or pork, you got rice, fresh vegetables, you got a sauce, you bake it, and it's coming out of the oven making everyone drool. That's what we strive for. Does it hit the spot? So if you want to learn all about the differences of cabbage rolls on a global perspective, take a look at these resources. Like, I didn't even know there were over 50 countries that were doing their own version. So I learned a lot about it. But I also learned you're not going to make everyone happy. So the first frame here for ingredients is the filling. You can really use any ground meat of choice, but I tend to go between beef or pork. This one goes well with beef, and you are in control of how much of the spices you're going to add. It's all going to be up to you because everyone likes a different level of salt, pepper, and whatever else you want to put in. Now for the tomato sauce that I make using a lot of garden variety vegetables, this is how I enjoy it. I love the variety of vegetables in a sauce. And of course, I'm using cumin, which, it gives such a great flavor. And it's also another use it to your own preference. Trust your palate. It'll be a great way to train yourself because only you know how much salt, pepper you like. So we want to pot cook the rice. And in doing so, this actually will help us avoid overcooking it when it goes into the oven. Get it into a bowl and let it cool down. You can put it in the fridge, but I wouldn't do it the minute you get it out of the pot or the rice cooker. And with the cabbage, I chose the Romanian method of using a little vinegar in the water. We did a red Italian vinegar for this. We didn't use a lot, but it does help with the cooking of the cabbage leaves, and it made it so much easier to peel them off. Now in this one pot, I've got all of the ingredients for the filling, which starts with the beef, some of the vegetables, the spices. I got some tomato sauce happening here. And the beauty of this is where you come into the picture and season it on your own. Trust your palate. You are the only person who knows how much you like. I personally go heavy with the Hungarian paprika. I like the flavor of that over the standard paprika they get here in the States. So when the mixture is done, I'm going to take that and gradually mix it in. My goal is to make sure that I don't have clumps of white rice that haven't had a chance to mix in with this beefy tomato saucy mixture. So I take some of that and I start mixing it in gradually. This also lets me get it set up for a taste test when I've got the whole thing done. And I'm going to see if I need to season it again because we're now adding a very seasoned beef mixture to a no-season batch of par-cooked rice. By the way, I'm using extra long grain rice for this. The fact that we had to partially cook it is actually going to make sure that the rice grains, they're not going to go mushy on me when they get baked. It's beautiful. So here we are, we're putting in the next portion of this. It's just making sure everything is mixed nice and evenly. And you're getting a facial here, folks. You don't even have to pay extra money. It's a beautiful thing. One of the best meals out of this I can remember from my childhood would be the middle of wintertime. And my grandparents would bake a lot of stuffed cabbage. There would be this mountain of mixture coming out of the pot. It was great. And sometimes you'd sneak a little bite before it even went into the cabbage leaves. So like I just did, I'm actually taste testing this, and I'm finding because I added that rice, I now need to add a little more seasoning. I don't need a whole lot, to be very truthful, but I do know that it's always best to taste test before you go ahead and you start filling those cabbage leaves. So I've added just a bit more on salt, the pepper, and the paprika. I love Hungarian paprika. There's a lot of beautiful flavors in that. It's not just a slight warmth. It does add some flavor to it. It's really a great spice to work with. So I'm adding what I need that I feel is appropriate. And eventually we're going to put the last of the mixture in there. And that's going to have everything married beautifully. And I'll get to the point where we can go ahead and get those cabbage leaves out. And of course, we still have to work on that garden sauce there. Got a lot of vegetables from the farm stand. This is what makes this dish beautiful because it's so fresh. It totally hits the spot. It tastes so much better. So now we are going to work on that sauce. And keep in mind, it doesn't need a lot. I personally love the oniony garden flavor that comes out of this because I'm using a variety of onions. But as far as the spices go that I listed, you're going to want to bloom them in the oil. I use cumin, and it's one of those, it needs a little bit of hot oil so it can come to fruition. It smells beautiful as that oil helps heat it up and brings it to life. So we're going to bloom some cumin seeds here. Now I'm going to recommend start with a pinch, maybe a pinch and a half. Not a lot of people can handle it. I personally think it's a beautiful flavor that goes into this sauce. You certainly don't want to overkill, so don't go more than a pinch and a half, give or take. You might even be looking at maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon, give or take. Yeah, that's about right. But that hot oil with a little bit of butter, you're going to control everything from burning. You're going to be the master of the heat. Just think, the master of the heat. That's a good title. So the cuisines over in India, they do the same thing with their spices. They'll bloom them in some oil or in ghee. So here, as you can see, we're going to mix this up. The fragrance is incredible from this, by the way. It's definitely a must. And it helps to bring out the strong gardeny flavors that are going to come with this. So I'm working with some nice strips of garlic, the tomatoes, the onions. I've got scallions. Honest to God, it really does make a difference. I really do believe that the fresher you can make this, the better. And it wasn't that expensive. I gotta be very honest with you. So we're gonna do a light saute on this. So that means we don't want you walking away. We're working with, I believe I did 1.5 tablespoons of butter. And of course the oil. Use olive oil or vegetable oil. Keep it simple. Doesn't have to get fancy schmancy. But the key element here, we want to make sure the vegetables are moving. We don't want this to sit because then you're going to have some burning, and I don't want that to happen for you. But looking at these vegetables, you'll see some of the onions taking on a slightly different color, and that's good. That's an indicator that pretty soon we're going to add in our tomato paste. And you do want to stir continuously. I probably put in 3 to 5 minutes or so. I think at this point, it doesn't take long. And now we have to add that tomato paste. Now, why am I using so much? Well, 1, because I can. 2, we're essentially creating a light sauce for the cabbage rolls. So we're going to cook that tomato paste. I want the heat to kick it in its teeth. So that's why we're going ahead and we're really working this in rigorously. But we don't want this to burn either. You're going to see at the bottom, periodically I'm scraping here. That's okay. We're actually developing a tomato fond. It's the nice colorful bits that you're going to see at the bottom of the pan. And after about 3 to 5 minutes, I'm going to get ready to put in my chicken stock. Now, if you don't have chicken stock, veggie stock works perfect. When you're doing beef for a filling, you can certainly do a beef stock, but you certainly don't want to be adding a lot of salt and pepper if you're using that commercial version. I'm using house-made, so it doesn't have any seasoning in it. So just be aware, if you don't have fresh stock on hand, and you're going to use either the powders, the bouillon cubes, or even the stock boxes out there, be very mindful of your seasonings. You don't want to oversalt. Now here, it's the same principle. We want to make sure that we gradually add that stock in and mix. Now it does seem wicked thick. I mean, it's even sticking on the spoon here, and that's okay. So we gradually add this stock, and it's going to build up the heat again. And I'm going to continue to mix this until we have this beautiful, light, flavorful sauce. I ended up using all 32 ounces. I found that even after it looks like it's thinned, I do let it cook for an additional 3 to 5 minutes more, and then it becomes that beautiful body of flavor. Now, when you get ready to fill those cabbage leaves, pop the oven on 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 205 Celsius. You want to get it preheated because it's going to take some time to fill these leaves. And I am eyeballing this. There is no solid set standard measurement. The key element is we want to treat this almost like we're doing egg rolls. We want just enough filling, but we want enough of the cabbage leaf, as you can see here, to be able to do a good seal when you're rolling it up. So right away, I probably put roughly a 1/4 cup of filling, so about 4.5 ounces maybe. Yeah, 4 to 4.5 sounds good. Really depends on the size of the leaves. So we're just going to easily repeat the process. Spread out that cabbage leaf, take some of the filling, and you don't want to overstuff it, but it's certainly up to you on how far you want to take the filling. Just be mindful of the wrapping process. And by the way, the use of the vinegar in the water allows for a light pickle to the cabbage. It's so fragrant and refreshing without killing your palate. But I also have to stress how wonderful it is that it becomes a more pliable leaf to work with. I was so very happy with the results. Now, in a roasting pan or whatever pan you've got, put some of that garden tomato sauce in there on the bottom. Give it a little bit of a bath. And then place your stuffed cabbage rolls into that pan. This is going to not only make sure you got flavor on the bottom, but we certainly don't want to burn the bottom of the rolls. Unless, of course, you're going for a nice toasty flavor to them. That's up to you. But the nice part is we're going to use some of that sauce again on top. So go ahead and fill up your pan. Make sure it's not too tight. If you got an extra roll like I did, just put it on top. It's going to be perfectly fine. And with some of the garden tomato sauce, I'm actually going to not cover the whole thing. Yeah, because I'm still going to want sauce on the side when it comes out of the oven. Oh my God. So we're going to ladle some of this, just enough to give it a light blanket, if you will, and just do it as evenly as you possibly can. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is so we can avoid any burning, because the oven temperature is set at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I definitely want the whole thing to come up to temperature, but I don't want any road crust, if you will. And the beauty of this is it doesn't take long to cook up in your oven. I did 20 to 30 minutes, give or take. You just want to make sure it's up to temperature. And it really is going to depend on the kind of oven you have. Natural gas may cook it faster, so just be mindful. You may want to do 20 minutes. And with everything coming together, look at how amazing this came out. 2 is really a perfect portion for me. My husband, 4. Both plates were his. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this.